Hi guys, hope you're all doing good and hope your preparation is on track. Now today on the 23rd of November 2023, let us look at some of the important issues in news in 30 minutes. Today you have a lot of case studies that you can use in your answers, and there are a lot of issues where your opinions matter. As you know, recently the questions of UPSC mains are more opinionated. So having a proper opinion on issues is a very important thing, and the opinions should not be developed by reading 2 or 3 informations, but the opinion should develop on any matter by thinking. Okay, you have to become a thinking individual. Only while thinking for a prolonged period of time over a particular issue will you be able to develop a rational, a logical and an ethical opinion. And it is this rational, logical and ethical opinion that is very important for the exam of especially the UPSC mains. Okay, so today's issue, more or less all the issues have a side of opinion that you have to take. I will not help you take the opinion, but I will just give you all the facts and informations of these cases which you have to think and then take a call, and you have to take a call on what is the best course of action. Okay, now what you should know is there is no correct or wrong answer. There is nothing called correct or wrong answer. There is only your opinions which will matter. How are you going to justify it rationally, logically and ethically? Okay, so all these issues today, fortunately for you people, all the issues has fallen today have a type of opinion. And this is actually a good thing that you can start triggering your mind to think about these issues to develop opinions. Okay, so let us start with the important issues on the 23rd of November 2023. Okay, so the first issue of news in 30 minutes is humanitarian pause in Gaza. How is it not the same as ceasefire? Okay, this is a pretty small issue, as in there is nothing to analyze here. It is just for you to know the different concepts. Okay, as you already know, there is a Israel-Palestine issue, and there has been a war of Hamas and Israel. Okay, Israel has gone into northern Gaza as a retaliation to the Hamas's raid of southern Israel in a few months back. Okay, so this particular war has resulted in something called humanitarian pause. Okay, so there are two terms that you should have clarity. Okay, there is two terms here, as you can see. One is humanitarian pause, another is ceasefire. So one is humanitarian pause and the second is ceasefire. Okay, so what do you mean by these two? You just have to know the difference between these two. Okay, according to the United Nations definition, humanitarian pause is a temporary cessation of hostilities. Okay, it is a temporary cessation of hostilities. It is purely for humanitarian purposes. Okay, so it is a temporary cessation of hostilities purely for humanitarian purposes. That's why they are calling it a pause. You are pausing the conflict purely for humanitarian purposes. That is what is humanitarian pause. So during this time, you build humanitarian corridors. You build humanitarian corridors where you supply aid, you supply food, you supply any basic necessities that is supplied to all the casualties or innocents who are trapped in the zone of conflict. Okay, in the zone of conflict. Okay, and what you should know is humanitarian pause is for limited time. Okay, it is for a limited time and it is over a limited area. Okay, this you should know. It is not on all the areas, it is only for limited area. Because it is only for limited area, it results in building of humanitarian corridors. These corridors will be links where the supply of aid and medical supplies will be distributed along the zone of conflict. Okay, so it will be a limited time and it will be for a limited area. Alright, and this is a temporary cessation. Okay, now if we take in case of this Hamas versus Gaza, the humanitarian pause is decided to be of 4 days. It can be extended if need be. However, it is decided that the humanitarian pause is going to be for 4 days. So I hope you got the difference between humanitarian pause and humanitarian pause. You got to know what this means. Now let us come to ceasefire. According to the United Nations, ceasefire is suspension of fighting. Ceasefire is suspension of fighting that is agreed upon the parties who are in conflict with each other. Okay, and this will always result in the permanent political settlement. Okay, that permanent political settlement will result in long-term agreements or long-term arrangements. Okay, so the war will not start in the near future. That is what is ceasefire. Okay, basically the two parties that are in conflict will come to a common table and they will discuss about their differences and they will try to suspend the fighting. Okay, here it is just a pause. Okay, hence it is short term. Here it is suspension and hence it is long term. Okay, this will result in arrangements that will create a sort of peace, a permanently politically engaging settlement. Okay, that will allow them to have a prolonged period of peace. Okay, for example, ceasefire agreements that we have in our borders along Aksai Chin, along the line of actual control with China. Okay, India and China. So this is a ceasefire agreement that will help us constantly to politically engage rather than going into conflict at one go. Okay, so this is what is the difference between humanitarian pause and ceasefire. Okay, so ceasefire is a long-term solution. However, humanitarian pause is a short-term solution. See, both are equally important. The reason why I tell both are equally important is, see, why is humanitarian pause important? Obviously, it is important from humanitarian angle. That is the obvious case. However, one more thing what is important is it breaks the momentum. It allows these countries that are in conflict to reduce their emotional adrenaline of fighting one another. So that break in that momentum actually helps in moving towards ceasefire. So in a way, humanitarian pauses will always facilitate in the coming of ceasefire. Okay, hence humanitarian pauses acts as a initial step taken that in turn can help result in ceasefire. That is in a way actually very good. Okay, apart from obviously the humanity angle where medical aids, humanity corridors all help in reducing the casualties and removing the innocents from that region. Obviously, humanitarian pause can be taken as first step that will always, or not always, that will usually go on to become a ceasefire in the future. Okay, so taking that cue, we hope that this conflict that is happening between Hamas and Israel will now has gone to the stage of humanitarian pause, and it will now, after a few days take up the shape of ceasefire. With that hope, with that hope, let us go with the next issue, and I hope you understood what is the difference between humanitarian pause and ceasefire. Okay, the next issue is, look at this. These from henceforth the issues have a lot of opinion embedded within them. There is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. I will obviously and purposely leave the issues open-ended. Okay, I am going to purposely leave the issues open-ended. All right, and you will make sure that you will think upon it and you will take a call on the basis of your justification rationally, logically and ethically. Okay, so let me tell you what this issue is. Let me just read it out. On ICC ban of trans women in Women's World Cup, we have to catch up and play. As the universal understanding of gender goes beyond the binary, we have male, we have female. So we have to, the universal understanding of gender is going beyond the binary. It is not just male and female, it is beyond the binary. And when we are going into the understanding of something that's beyond binary, can fairness in sports exist alongside gender inclusivity? The reason why this question is coming is, can fairness exist with gender inclusivity? The reason why this question, the author asked this question is, the ICC has come up with the new rules, and according to these rules, any player who has got operated and they have transitioned, anyone who has transitioned from male to female, this person cannot, regardless of any surgery, cannot take part in women's cricket. Okay, this is the new rule. Okay, the rule according to ICC is, if that person has undergone a transition from male to female, that is, that person has undergone surgeries to change from male to female, then that person, that is the trans women, cannot take part in women's cricket. All right, so this is the rule. Now trans women cannot take part in women's cricket. Now look at the problem. 2 months back there was Daniel McGahey. Okay, Daniel McGahey was from Canada, and Daniel McGahey was the first transgender to take part in international cricket. Okay, and 2 months back this happened, and now after 2 months ICC has come out with this rule. By the coming out of this rule, now McGahey will not be able to play. Okay, now that is why the author tells, can fairness exist alongside gender inclusivity? Can fairness and gender inclusivity go hand by hand? Now the ICC has given the justification that they want to keep the women's game, safe, fair and inclusive. That is why they have come up with this rule. And there is also an argument that by including trans athletes, it will be unfair, as they can take advantage of the lung capacity, high lung capacity. The second is stronger bones or more lean muscle mass. Okay, so these are some of the advantages that trans athletes can take up. Okay, that is what is another argument why they should not be allowed to take part in women's games. So does this argument hold good? All right, now some may say yes, it may go hold good. Some may say that we have to provide some type of a common ground so that they also can participate. Now, so this is one angle of looking at it. Another angle, let me give you another angle. There was a landmark judgment in 2004 given by International Olympic Committee. Okay, and this Olympic Committee has allowed transgender athletes. It has allowed transgender athletes to take part in Olympics. Okay, now look at this. If they are allowing transgender athletes to take part in Olympics, then why are we not allowing them to take part in the cricket competition or several other sports? This is another argument. Okay, one more argument that I will give you is, if you take some sports like swimming, now what they are doing in swimming is, in order to overcome, or in order to somehow get around the issue, what they have done is, they have introduced a separate open category for trans athletes. Okay, they are introduced a separate open category for trans athletes. See, now there are three arguments that are happening. One, the arguments given by the International Cricket Council, okay, that to keep the women's game safe, fair and inclusive, they have to not allow the transgenders or trans athletes to take part in it. And the argument holds that these athletes can take advantage of a high lung capacity, stronger bones and more lean muscle mass. Okay, so does this argument hold good? What do you think about it? One more argument is, if that argument holds good, then why did International Olympic Committee in 2004 allow trans athletes or transgender athletes to take part in Olympics? Haven't they thought about this? How do you justify that then this becomes more fair? One more way of doing it is to get around the problem of this debate at all times. That is, you are trying to circumvent the problem by creating a separate category for trans athletes. There are three different ways how you can go around this issue. What do you think is the correct issue, and what do you think that should be the way forward in order to make sure that there is gender inclusivity and also fairness? So basically, whatever steps you take, there should be a balance between gender inclusivity as well as fairness, not only in sports but also in all other realms. Why this decision is very important is you are just thinking about sports, but this will be the same scenario in all the other realms of the world. So what happens here will be reflected in other realms also. So we have to think of a way forward that balances both gender inclusivity and fairness. So I leave it upon you people to think what should be the way forward. How should you think that these issues must be tackled? However, I have given you 3 dimensions, or I have given you 3 arguments, or I have given you 3 way forward, okay, or 3 paths that is taken by the international community. Okay, which will you choose? Why do you choose that, and what do you think is the way forward is something that you should ponder upon, and this is the intention of this lecture, to make you think. Okay, as I told you, this can be used in your GS4 answers, this can be used in your case studies, this can also be used in your essays. Okay, leaving it open-ended is a purposeful intention of mine to make you think. So think about this and come up with an answer. Okay, so this is the second issue of the day. The next issue again is something that as an argument on both the sides. Okay, what elite critics of freebies don't understand. Okay, so look at this: elite critics, freebies. Direct benefits are a legitimate aspect of building a political mandate. Okay, now why is this issue coming is Supreme Court has today taken up today or yesterday has taken up a case on hearing about freebies. Okay, and the case is known as irrational freebies case. Okay, and this has been sent to a 3-judge bench. It is sent to a 3-judge bench, and we should look on what is going to happen regarding this case. Okay, will there be any amendments or will there be any interpretations regarding section 123 of RPA 1951? Okay, because it is within this there is something called corrupt practice. Will the court read this irrational freebies case within the corrupt practice of RPA 1951? This is something that we have to wait and see what the Supreme Court will do. Okay, but what this article tells is, let me just give you the 2 sides of an argument again. Okay, so there is in the Supreme Court, okay, in the Supreme Court there is the petitioners who are against freebies. Okay, and then there is the people who are for, or who are arguing for. They are not arguing for freebies, but they equate freebies to public welfare. Okay, they equate freebies to public welfare. So what is the argument here? The petitioner who has filed it against the freebies says that freebies are equivalent to corrupt practice. They are equivalent to corrupt practice under section 123 of RPA 1951. That is the first argument. The second argument that they say is there are 2 types of freebies. Okay, one is illegitimate or discriminatory freebies. Okay, and the second is there is welfare freebies. Okay, so they say that this is something that is bad. Okay, and they give an example of doing away of debt of willful defaulters of loan. Okay, when the loan is willfully defaulted and you are doing away with this debt that is willfully defaulted, then this comes up to something called illegitimate freebies. Okay, so this is the argument on the petitioner side, who say that freebies are bad and freebies affect the India's economy. Okay, now in this context, I will also tell you former Chief Justice of India, that is N.V. Ramana. Okay, former Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana had highlighted that there is a need for us to differentiate. There is a need for us to differentiate. What are freebies? We have to differentiate what are freebies. We have to define what this means, and we also have to define what are freebies, and then differentiate freebies from welfare. Okay, so this is what the Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana had spoken. Okay, we have to differentiate what are freebies, and we have to define what are freebies and differentiate them from what is welfare. So once we define it and then differentiate, then it will give less scope for political parties to breach the line of differentiation. So this is what is former CGI NV Ramana's take was. Okay, so this is on the challenging side. Okay, now people who are telling that freebies is equal to public welfare, one, what they say is they are taking the refuge under directive principles of state policy. Okay, so directive principles of state policy mainly talks about social democracy and it mainly talks about economic democracy. Okay, it talks about reducing inequality amongst the people, within males and females, within the sections of the population. Okay, so this directive principles of state policy, which acts as the moral compass for any government, this particular moral compass allows freebies to be discriminative. That is, it allows them to be more favorable towards the poor, to be more favorable towards the vulnerable. So DPSPs act as one refuge for those political parties that are using freebies as a means to garner more vote. That is one argument. The second argument that these people are taking is they are using Article 282 of the Constitution. Okay, the Article 282 of the Constitution says that the union or the state can use any grants. It can use any grants for any purpose. Okay, it can use any grants for any purpose outside the competency of the parliament or the state, outside the competency of the parliament or the state assembly. Okay, so this article allows these governments to make promises or freebies, or it allows the political parties to make promises, and it allows these promises to be upheld after these political parties come to power via Article 282, because Article 282 says the government of the day at union or state can make any grants on any purpose outside the competence of the parliament or the state assembly. Okay, so these political parties will bank upon this article once they get into the power. So this is what will give them the courage to make promises in the election times. Okay, so these are some of the arguments that they make to or against freebies. So let me summarize. Now if I take freebies, the against argument is one, it is equivalent to corrupt practice according to section 123 of RPA 1951. So that is the first argument. The second argument is there are two types of freebies. One is illegitimate or discriminative, another is legitimate, and this is what is very bad to the economy. Okay, and our former Chief Justice of India Ramana has also told that we have to define what is freebies and we have to differentiate freebies from welfare schemes. Okay, so this is against. So coming for, if I take the for, as I already told you, one, the parties will take refuge under DPSP. The second is they equate or they use Article 282 as a substantiation to those political parties that come to power can use this Article 282 to make grants for any purposes, that includes also freebies. Okay, so these are the basically two arguments. Okay, now I hope you got this to and for against. Now again I am giving you the open-ended conclusion that it is on your opinion. You take the opinion which is good and which is bad, and how will you take the opinion is you should develop the habit of thinking. You develop what is good, what is bad, and how can you justify depends upon what conclusion that you are going to take. Okay, let me just give a concluding remark that there is a case called S. Subramaniam Balaji. S. Subramaniam Balaji versus Tamil Nadu. Okay, in this case that happened in 2013, there was a judgment that Supreme Court made that promises in the election manifesto, okay, does not amount to section 123 corrupt practice. It does not amount to section 123 corrupt practice under RPA 1951. So this is one argument in Supreme Court. I will give you one more argument that RBI tells that because of the growing preference of freebies, okay, these freebies are becoming new source of risk to state finances. See, I am giving both the sides now. On one side, the Subramaniam Balaji versus Tamil Nadu case, the Supreme Court says that promises within the election manifesto does not amount to corrupt practice. Whereas on the other side, RBI is telling that freebies are in fact bad. They are creating a new source of risk to the state finances. Okay. So again, I am trying to give you a legitimate source of argument. One for against, another for. Okay. So with this, I hope that I have equipped you with different information. And with this equipment, you can think to take an opinion or a stand regarding the freebies. Should freebies be allowed? Is freebies equivalent to welfare schemes? See, here what the author is trying to tell, what allied critics of freebies don't understand, what the author is trying to tell is, see, for a middle class looking at the freebies, may see freebies as freebies, but coming from the poor angle or coming from poverty angle, the same freebies may actually be welfare. Okay, so it all depends from which angle you are looking at. Are you looking at from the angle of middle class, or are you looking at from the angle of poverty? So are you looking at from the angle of elite class? So it depends on which angle you look about this freebies. Correct. So that is another argument that the author makes in this particular article. Okay. So I hope again I have triggered your line of thought, and I hope you will start thinking about it. Okay, so this is the issue. The next issue is again an interesting issue. Now, reporting animal cruelty makes child safer. Okay, now the author tries to link animal cruelty will also reflect child abuse. Okay, so this theory is based on William Hogarth. There was a person called William Hogarth. In 751, William Hogarth comes up with 4 stages of cruelty. He comes up with 4 stages of cruelty. In any individual, 4 stages of cruelty happens like this. 1, it starts with cruelty towards animal. Okay, and then it moves towards cruelty towards people. Okay, and people also include child, because children are helpless and they are vulnerable. It also includes children. Okay, so this is what is William Hogarth's 4 stages of cruelty. Okay, and if so what does this mean? This means that in any families, if they are cruel towards animal, that means there are very high chances that there is child abuse. Okay, now this particular theory was put to test. Okay, William Hogarth's theory was actually put to test once it came out in 1751. So in 1980, in United Kingdom, they tested this theory in 23 families. And 83% of the families actually showed the link. The link of animal cruelty also reflects child abuse. Okay, again in 1983, this was also studied in USA. Okay, and in USA they studied 53 families. Okay, so in 53 families, again there was 88% link between animal cruelty and child abuse. You are understanding this? So this shows that William Hogarth's theory is not all wrong. There is some relation between animal cruelty and child abuse. Okay, now why is it important for us to know what is the link between this? The reason why it is important is in 2007, Ministry of Women and Child Development came up with an information that shocked the country. The information was regarding child abuse in India. Okay, so when they take the child abuse in India, 2 out of 3 children, okay, 2 out of 3 children have been physically abused in India. Okay, 2 out of 3 children are physically abused in India, that is almost 60%. Then over 50% have been reported to have faced some forms of sexual violence. Okay, so 66% have faced some form of physical abuse and over 50% have faced some form of sexual violence. Okay, this statistics is very huge and this is released by Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now, if we have to curb this child abuse, we have to look different ways, and one such way is animal cruelty. Okay, so in this way, we are trying to protect two things. By looking at this link, we are going to help protect animals. We are also going to help save children from getting abused. Okay, so in this way, William Hogarth's theory is not completely wrong, and hence this has to be put in test, is what the author tells. Okay, so overall, all right, what is important is, if you take the National Crime Record Bureau, this National Crime Record Bureau does not collect information from Prevention of Animal Cruelty Act 1960. Okay, it does not collect information from this. So the author tells that it is time for NCRB to collect information from this also, because what is important for law enforcement agencies, is to understand how different cases overlap. So if you are seeing abuse of animals in an house, there are very high chances that you are also seeing abuses of children, abuses of women in the house. Okay, so this will help us to prevent crimes. Okay, this is what the author says, and this is one way to prevent child abuse. Okay, so to just give you a conclusion on these lines, don't you think we have Gandhiji's quote, a very famous Gandhiji's quote that tells that the greatness of the nation and its moral progress, can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Okay, Gandhiji has said this. Don't you think this sounds very familiar with what William Hogarth and his theory on cruelty tells? Okay, this shows that our treatment with animals definitely reflects the moral progress of our country. Okay, and if we have to in any way stop child abuse, we have to start looking into other arenas as well, and that one other arena is animal cruelty. So what do you think about it? Again, the opinion is open. You think, you take a call whether should we go on to these lines of investigation. Does this way of overlapping crimes help in preventing crimes, or is it not that relevant to a context like India? Because whatever statistics of William Hogarth is, has both happened in USA and UK, and these studies have not been done in India. So is it purely a Western concept, or can it be applied even in the context like India? So these are some things that you should ponder upon and think, and then take an opinion on this issue. Okay, the next issue is another issue where it is open-ended and you have to take a opinion. This is again, look at this, what they have done. What has the UK Supreme Court ruled with respect to Rwanda deal? Okay, what is Migration and Economic Development Partnership? Is Rwanda safe for asylum seekers? Okay, so what is this Migration and Economic Development Partnership? This Migration and Economic Development Partnership was signed in 2002 between UK and Rwanda. Look at this, how UK has outsourced asylum seekers. Okay, we have heard developed nations outsourcing jobs, developed nations outsourcing resources, developed nations outsourcing services, but this is developed nations outsourcing asylum seekers. So according to this Migration and Economic Development Partnership, okay, this is basically creating a mechanism for transfer of asylum seekers. Okay, so what it tells is, if UK will not consider a particular asylum seeker, okay, if that UK will not consider the asylum seeker, then this United Kingdom can transfer this asylum seeker to Rwanda. Okay, and once UK will transfer this asylum seeker to Rwanda, Rwanda becomes the sole authority to decide what to do with this asylum seeker, and it can either recognize this person or it can not recognize this person. If this asylum seeker is not recognized, then that person is sent back to the country of origin. Okay, that person is sent back to the country of origin, and if this person is recognized, then that person can stay in Rwanda. and when the person stays in Rwanda, all expenses of his stay, his house, everything is taken care by the UK. See, what is unethical here is UK is responsible for creating a lot of, for example, the Western nations are, if I take the developed economy, the so-called developed economies of today, these developed economies were responsible for creating a lot of instability, okay, in Africa as well as Asia. And as a consequence of this, you're seeing a lot of migration, and within them also you're speaking asylum seekers. Okay, so this problem of asylum seekers was created by developed economies. Now, obviously, it is their incumbent upon them to give them space or to give them security in their country. Now, instead of giving them space and security in their country, they are outsourcing this to back to the developing countries. Okay, so this is what is unethical. The next unethical thing about this is they are outsourcing it in those countries that is already suffering from instability. Okay, now as I told you, Rwanda is already facing a lot of ethnic conflicts with Democratic Republic of Congo. So by sending asylum seekers into this region, how safe will be the asylum seekers residing in Rwanda? That is the second ethical issue. The third ethical issue is, now see, UK is sending people to Rwanda, and the moment it sends it to Rwanda, Rwanda becomes the sole authority. So if Rwanda says that this asylum seeker is not allowed, then that asylum seeker is then sent back to the country of origin. So if that person is sent back to the country of origin, what if that person is killed there? Okay, it is against the principle of refoulement. That is, you cannot send back that person, asylum seeker, back to this country of origin if that person's life is under threat. But according to this, Rwanda can take a decision that if that person is not considered in Rwanda, then the person is pushed to the country of origin. Again, these are the three ethical dilemmas or ethical issues regarding this particular partnership called Migration and Economic Development Partnership. Okay, again, these are some arguments that I have made from my side. What do you think? See, by coming from another side, we can know that UK is now just trying to allow more and more asylum seekers to get more space by doing this. That is another argument. Instead of outrightly rejecting all the asylum seekers on the context that there is no more space in the country or there is no more resources in the country, by having such agreements with other countries, they can actually transfer these asylum seekers to some other places so that there is efficient usage of resources. That can also be another line of argument. So there is no correct answer here. Okay, now the reason why this particular issue is in news is the Supreme Court of United Kingdom has said that this particular partnership is unlawful. Okay, however, the Supreme Court of UK, unlike the Supreme Court of India, cannot override the Parliament, because in UK or in Britain, the Parliament is sovereign and whatever decision the Parliament takes is final. Okay, unlike what happens in India the Constitution is the ultimate sovereign decision, ultimate sovereign body. Okay, so this again is an issue. Just because Supreme Court of United Kingdom has told that it is unlawful, it doesn't mean that they can get down. I mean, they have to withdraw this particular partnership. It is not so. So the argument still holds. Is this good or is this bad? You have to think about it, ponder about it, and come up with an opinion. These opinions are becoming very, very important in your mains exam, and these opinions will reflect your maturity, not only from your academic angle, your maturity from social angle. Okay, so overall, your ethical, your political, your social as well as your academic maturity is tested on the basis of what opinions you take. That is why of late in the UPSC mains exam, the questions more or less are revolving around opinions. Okay, so please make sure that you develop the habit of thinking. Okay, just reproducing what is there in your notes is gone. Now is the time not only to reproduce what is there in your notes, but to develop your habit of thinking, because only with thinking comes very matured opinions. And when I tell opinions, there is no correct, there is no wrong answer. Okay, it is all opinions are valid unless, okay, all opinions are valid until you are able to justify it from legality angle, from ethicality angle as well as from rationality angle. If you are able to justify it with these three angles, your opinions are valid. So whatever opinions that you think should always make sure that it surpasses the Trinity test of legality, ethicality and rationality. Okay, so I hope you understood the issue, and I hope this today's issues was very helpful in you developing the habit of creating opinions on issues around the world as well as within India. Okay, so with that, again I would like to thank you for all the love and support. Please make sure that you like, share and subscribe if you like this video, and please share it with a lot of your friends and peers. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.